session, which is wonderful. Great turnout today, and appreciate everybody being here. This is actually our 17th annual North Carolina Graduation Hall of Fame, and it's an honor to be here and see all these smiling faces, all these graduation people, and all these stars we got here of our industry. In fact, if you're in the North Carolina Graduation Hall of Fame, will you please stand up and be recognized? Anybody that's been inducted in the past? Shirley Downey, my goodness, look what Buddy Martin, some of the biggest names in the industry here. Very fortunate in the state. We really are in the hotbed of drag racing. They used to say they were in California. I don't think they even have a racetrack out there anymore. But I want to remind you about the cell phones. As you know, if your cell phone goes off, you have to come up here and sing the national anthem. Thanks to Scarlett for the performance, Shannon Scarlett Performance of the Parts was one of our sponsors, and Randy Weatherford from WS Construction helped us subsidize this, which is great because this is for the Shriners, you know, all the private, those who are Shriners, but it takes an awful lot of effort and whatnot. And, I want to acknowledge Bubba Turner and the great job he has done with this. As you know, Jim passed away a couple of weeks ago, and it's been grooming Bubba for the last couple of years, but this was about the kind of last minute here. Bubba, it is, I know you're going to do a great job with this. It's refreshing, the social media you're doing, and the inspiration you've given to the singer to carry this on. We sure appreciate the Turner family, particularly Bubba, what he's done. As you know, I don't like to speak or hear anybody speak for more than 3 minutes. So we're going to try to keep things nice and short here and get you out here in a decent hour. Just don't have an awful lot to add other than I think y'all being here and look forward to getting to the program. We got some superstars will be inducted today into our industry. And I'd like to introduce Mark Joyce. Let me just think kick off. Thanks so much.
All right, folks, again, we appreciate you being here. And again, I want to give a shout out to Randy Weatherford of WS Construction coming on board this year to help with our Hall of Fame, folks. Steve didn't allow on that, and Jim always said it. This has been a deal that's been funded by pretty much our pockets or so. So I'd like to say we thank Randy for his efforts, and hopefully we go out and search and find some more supporters of this great thing we've got going here, this Hall of Fame. So this time I want to bring up Mr. Frankie Spittle to induct Mr. Larry McBride into the Hall of Fame.
Is it turn on?
Well, I'm sure that there's not one single person in here, no matter what age you are, that you have not heard or seen Larry McBride go down the drag strip. The first time that I saw Larry was at Farmington Drag Strip in 1978, and he was racing a Harley Davidson on Nitro. And that year Jim Turner had dirt drags on Saturday and then asphalt drags on Sunday. So Squeaky Bell that owned this bike decided he was going to run both. He brought a tire with spikes in it that Larry told me Jim did not allow the spikes. He was afraid it was going to be like a shotgun out there shooting out of that tire. He ran the bike on Sunday, and that was the beginning of his career drag racing motorcycles. That was in 1978, and here we are in 2024, and Larry's still at it. Larry has accomplished more in top fuel motorcycle racing than any other rider in history. You can think what you want about who's the greatest. The record speaks for it. Larry has won 20 top fuel motorcycle championships. I don't think that anybody else all the greats have not won 10, and he's won 20. Larry was the first in the fives in 1999, and if you count up every 5-second run that's been recorded in the entire world and add them together, Larry has made more. Larry holds the record now for speed in ET, a 550 ET, this quarter mile time, at 268.38 miles per hour. In an eighth of a mile, Larry has ran a 356 at 215. He was also the first in the 580s, the 570s, the 560s, the 550s, and presently is the only person that's ever recorded a 560 pass. I'm sorry, a 550 pass, and he's recorded several of them. I can remember the last time I ran Larry. It was in 1984, 40 years ago. And he was riding a Danny Johnson built supercharged Kawasaki. And I was racing the twin engine Harley that I had acquired from Elmer Tread. And I'm not ashamed to say I lost. 40 years ago. Larry has been a friend for all these years, and I quit racing myself in the mid-80s, so I was about done that time that I paired up with him the last time. But Larry is a great motorcycle racer, that's to be known. But he is a role model for motorcycle drag racing. He is there if you need an autograph, he's there if you need a question answered. And I might add that all of this has been possible with the help of his brother, Steve. Steve, would you stand up, please? Steve has been there all of these 40 plus years. And it is my great pleasure to introduce Larry the Spider-Man McBride.
I'd rather be on a motorcycle than up here. It's a lot more scary looking at all you guys. Well, the first thing I'd like to say is I probably shouldn't even be up here. My brother should be the one getting inducted in this museum. I can't forget my crew, Roland Stewart, Chuck Stewart, Charlie Lynch, all the guys that's been with me for 25 years, that's done all the hard work on the bike at the racetrack, and Steve being the lead guy that's led all them guys. And me, I get to do the fun part and go out there and ride the thing, get the hell scared out of me, and come back and get to sign all the autographs, do all the stuff, all these guys get their hands dirty. And I'm just proud to be up here to say, you know, to talk to y'all. And I want to thank Mr. Jim Turner, and I've always called him Mr. Turner all my life. He did a lot for me. He's the one that set my career, giving me as a young kid, as 18 years old, bringing me into race, and basically teaching me the right way to go and what to do and how to handle yourself. And talking to him and Dora up in the tower and doing that, seeing Bub and Jay when they were just little guys running around the track, you know, doing the track. Jay used to be one of the best prep guys, and just to be being inducted into this Hall of Fame is quite a great honor for me, and to be in it with the people that I'm in it with. You know, seeing, you know, Ricky Smith, and you got Roy Hill and all these guys, being here, Jay Turner, Elmer Tread, it just goes on and on. Ray Price, I mean, Bill Furr, just goes to be in there and be my name to be in there with them is just such an honor. And I'm gonna do one of my good friends that used to run the drag strip just up here, likes to keep the 3-minute rule, so I'm gonna keep the 3-minute rule and tell y'all, thank y'all all for coming out, and thank everybody at the North Carolina Hall of Fame for letting Larry McBride in here, and I sure do appreciate everything. Y'all have a great day and enjoy yourself.
Larry McBride, Spider-Man, first recipient, North Carolina Drag Racing Hall of Fame, 2024.
We'll do all the presentations and stuff after we get done tonight as far as the awards and taking pictures and all that good stuff like usual. Yeah, okay. We got their nice lights up, we got jackets too, so we'll do all that when we get done with these festivities here. So now we move on to our next one on the list here, longtime chassis builder and drag racer out of Kings Mountain, Mr. Bobby Bennett. Would you please come up to introduce Wally Strupen to the Hall of Fame. Bobby Bennett.
It used to be your father.
I changed it.
Oh, my bad. You're on Glover Turner, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead of the game there.
A little confusion.
Okay, I'm here to introduce Mr. Wally Stroop. Per his information, Wally started racing on the street, back in the late 70s, and he attended his first race at Shadyside in 1980, and buddy, that lit the fuse right there. Started bracket racing in 81, converted his 68 Camaro to a full-on chassis race car, starting Stroop race cars. Raced it all over the place, Spartanburg, Greer, Shuffletown, Hudson, Farmington, you name it, he was there. Bracket raced hard in IHRA, quick rod, top sportsman. Moving into pro modified in the late 90s, suffered a terrible fire, braked in 98, came back in 99. And that's something that a lot of people wouldn't do. Moved into Mountain Motor Pro stock and then transitioned into 500-inch racing. Most impressive thing that I can say that I read, over 43 careers, he's won 61 races, set 2 world records, and currently holds 20 track records.
Wow.
Since 1981, Stroop Race Cars has built nearly 500 race cars, earned 21 world records, and is approximately 200 best engineered and or best appeared. That's saying something in drag racing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wally Stroop.
Not very good at this. First off, I'd like to thank the nominating committee. I'd like to thank God for, first and foremost, for allowing me to do it. The second people I would like to thank, again, for Mom and Dad. Why? Yes, certainly. They sacrificed all they could. They did on the road. I've got so many people saying, Larry and Nate Grange. They're saying, since Kenny was out there, they've been with me since '84. And now she works hard to supply sponsorship the cars on the race. I gotta thank Lamar, my best friend. He came on board with me 24 years. I shouldn't have been, but I was in the clutch. He turned out there really good. Gotta thank all the people that's been with us over the years, all of our sponsors, their importance. Ranger Commercial Grading, Water Right Plumbing, TR Burn Paving, and Tree Service. They've all funded us over the years and believed in us. We're not done yet, hopefully we can still keep going. Thank y'all, thank everybody, congratulate all of them. Thank you.
Once again, Wally Stroop with a very heartfelt induction speech.
Good thing my head's down a little bit, but anyway, got the jackets. All right, now, Bobby Bennett, come up, please, sir. introduce Mr. Rob Vandergrift. There we go, I get it correct. I just gotta give you extra spiel. Don't forget, folks, he's gonna be selling t-shirts also, so go by and check them out at the booth. So I'm gonna give him a plug, and here you go.
Thank you. Well, the gentleman that I'm about to introduce here, you had to know he was special when in 1983 he won a super gas race with a stick shift car. And if any of you guys know how hard that is, then you will know what a feat he accomplished. And up until about 1985 or 1986, I really realized the true motivation behind that win. Because at the 1981 IHRA Spring Nationals in Bristol, Charlie Carpenter qualified #1 in the hot rod eliminator class with a 10.500, also with a stick shift. So it only made sense to me then because those two guys were joined at the hip, Charles Carpenter and Robbie Vandergrift, trying to one-up one another. It was the greatest inspiration of spy versus spy in drag racing you've ever seen. If you've ever seen the cartoons, that's what those guys put on every week. But let me tell you something about this guy. He came out with a refrigerator white 57 Chevy and immediately captured the hearts of every gearhead fan because just like Charles Carpenter, who's had the world's fastest 55 Chevy, Robbie had to come in and one-up him with the world's fastest 57 Chevy. And of course, Robbie being from Knoxville, Tennessee, is about as much a North Carolinian as I am. But he did most of his racing here in the Tar Heel State because he wore out the roads. I'm not even sure what road he ran going back and forth from here. Was it 40 or whatever? He wore those roads out. But those two, and Robbie in particular, they really took the shoebox world by storm. And just as Charlie was one side of the pro mod, Robbie was the other. And together they made one incredible team. And for Robbie Vandergrift, what you found was a guy that had every reason to be full of himself. He had done a lot of stuff and accomplished a lot of things. But I'm going somewhere with this, okay? But what you found instead is one of the most down-to-earth, caring human beings you'll ever see. He was a great drag racer, but he was an even greater human being. And in drag racing, how many times have we seen the opposite? You know? So, Robbie raced with his heart. He never saw a drag racing fan that he didn't fall in love with. Except for maybe me, but I wasn't a drag racing fan. But anyway, I'm right at like 2.5 minutes. So, without further ado, I present to you for the North Carolina Drag Racing Hall of Fame, Mr. Robbie Vandergrift.
Thank you, Bobby, for that great introduction. Thank you. That has a purpose. This has a purpose. Good afternoon to everyone. I just want to take a minute.
What is it? Show it all up.
Oh, okay. That's a little boy and a big boy. And that's the same boy. First, I'd like to acknowledge my family who must have come thinking I was going to buy them lunch. Because, I mean, they showed up. Thank you, Cousin Steve, for taking us to have lunch at his house. Good afternoon to everyone. I mean, what a great event. I've had more fun just hanging out with my old buddies, just being with these guys that I raced with my entire life. Most all are heroes for me, and grew up watching them. Of course, I got to tell my favorite story about this whole event is when my wife found out that Schroeder Downey was going to be here. She was happy to come. So, thank you so much. For everything. I want to take a minute and just thank everyone that's involved with this event. The North Carolina Drag Racing Hall of Fame. It's just a cool thing. I mean, it's something I never expected. You know, when you're a kid growing up and you're eating your corn flakes and waiting on Carcraft or Superstock to come in, this is not what you think your life's going to look like. But this is such a great honor to have happened. I want to acknowledge my buddy, Satch Gregg. Where you at, Satch? See, he's in here somewhere. My buddy Satch Gregg for nominating me for this. Even though I'm not from North Carolina, I did spend a majority of my time in this state. If it wasn't Rockingham, it was Shuffletown. There are plenty of other thousands of little tracks that are all here. Because this is where it happened. North Carolina is the heartland of racing. So I spent a lot of my time here all my life. I want to kind of talk about the honorees this year. Okay, we've got the Wise Carter brothers who I have a Chevy too, that's my first race car. So I have always watched these guys race, and they're brothers. So those two have raced together their entire life. So like my brother and I, who built cars together, started this together, and are still car nuts. It's just cool to see two brothers, just like Larry was talking about his brother, still involved in the sport together. My brother painted my first cars. He helped me work on my first cars. And without my family's involvement, you literally could not race. So thank you so much. Thank you for the brother in your life and sister. Wally Street, we traveled all over the Southeast together. Me and his dad buried, running Top Sportsman, Pro Modified, Super Chevys. I mean, we were everywhere together. We were like brothers. Wally was talking about, you don't ever want to sit in the back seat. Daryl Bowman and I, we've had some fun stories there. I forgot about that particular one. Larry McBride. My wife told me, do not tell this story, but I'm going to tell it. And I'm going to be as politically correct as possible. Okay? So we're somewhere at a national event. Larry McBride, they push his bike up. Because back then, they ran exhibition classes. They didn't really have, you guys ran a lot just exhibition. Okay? And it was an exhibition. So they pushed Larry's bike up, and we're sitting there. Here they come up, and there's a wagon beside Larry. This little wagon that I'm assuming has got starter and spare parts. But they throw a blanket over the side. And we're standing there looking at one of my buddies said, "What do you think's there in that blanket?" And without even beating it, anything, one of my other buddies said, "That's what they carry as bad parts in." Exactly right. I said, if any of y'all ever seen Larry ride on these things, it's really, they call him Spider-Man because he starts on the seat and he ends up on the side of the bike. Literally, that's something to watch. And he's got a good sponsorship, he's still going, and he still looks young. Thank you. The Jeff Bird Award is such an honor, and you could not have picked a better recipient than Steve Bird. Well, Steve's a legend in racing, a legend in promoting. He's just basically a legend here. So congratulations, Steve. I can't convey in words the impact the Turner family's had on racing. I was telling Bubba, his dad and mom had Charles and I raced the first time. North Carolina's our first match race was at their track. We raced there several times. So thank you so much for it. I was thinking about, as I read Jim's obituary, and I told Bubba this, what a great man and truly a servant leader he was. He basically led with his heart. He invested in people, endeavors that were close to him. And he just was always, I was thinking about him, he was an educator, a coach, a leader, a mason, a shriner, promoter, husband, father, grandfather, and a friend to everyone. And I was thinking about this old country song, "Who's Gonna Fill Those Shoes?" And you think about those as we're losing these people. But I also heard an old preacher say not long ago that a man preaches his own funeral. And Jim pretty much preached a lifelong sermon. That's his life. He led with his life. So thank you so much for the turn. The sport of drag racing is kind of unusual. Most of you, I'm sure, are drag racing fans. You're here, okay? I grew up in a dirt track family and still have dirt track racing. But it's really hard to explain drag racing to a casual fan. You know, I had a guy walk up to me in Rockingham one day, and the first thing he says, he's an older gentleman, but you can tell he's well dressed. And he said, what's up with you drag racers? He said, you guys spend more money to get the fun over faster. And I sat there a minute and I thought, you know, that's the truest thing I have ever heard. We work so hard, we spend all this money, what are we doing? We're trying to go faster, get it over faster. And I sat there a minute, I thought, yeah, I made it think that way to me. I thought, you know what? Drag racers are the ultimate time efficiency experts. We can shave microseconds, tenths of thousands, hundreds, all we're looking for thousands of seconds, okay? And spend a lot of money. Like Roy said, he's got the only DNR 57 Chevrolet, he knows it. But you know, all of us race against the best, okay, in this mechanical chess match that's known as drag racing. And, you know, pretty much, you've got some of the toughest competitors, and we've talked about this before. You'll qualify 16 cars for the second, and everybody's got a different combination. So there is definitely more than one way to skin a cat, okay? Drag racing's been good to me. We were talking, sitting out there, just all of us cutting up. I'm out from Carnes, Tennessee, okay? That's my, Jim Bryant, who's my first sponsor, used to say, basically I'm an obscure auto mechanic from Carnes, Tennessee. But drag racing allowed me to travel the world, meet people from everywhere, enjoy events like this, which is probably one of the greatest honors I've ever had. So I just want to point that out. But I also want to point out, my wife and I were talking about, I used to travel, Charles and I race about 45 times a year, match racing and national business stuff. And my daughter would give me, she had a little yellow blanket, and she'd give me a string from that blanket every time I was going to race. And however many days I was gone, she'd ask her mom, she'd take a piece of string and give it to me. I put it in my pocket. And that string, when I'd get in a tough position, those strings, I'd pull those things out and remember exactly who I was representing. And they're sitting right here. That's my family. But those things kept me grounded. But I also thought about all of us here. Drag racing is an individual sport, it appears to be. But every one of us are tied together, just like those strings that my daughter. They're sponsors, chassis builders, engine builders, friends, just all the relationships, promoters, all the people, even the people that put the events on, people behind the scenes that sell tickets. If it weren't for them, we would never have an opportunity to go up and test our metal. And quite frankly, drag racers, I hate to say this, but it's honest. We compete against each other, and their peers are the only ones that really understand how hard we work, how much we invest. And that's the people that you really, those people's opinion matter more than anybody. So I'll leave you with three things in closing that drag racing's taught me about life. Number one, in life there's no reward without risk. None. Zero. You have one life to live without regret. One life. And it goes quickly. The journey is what you'll remember the most, not the destination. All the things we've been sitting out there talking about were things that happened on the road, things that happened in the pit, things, jokes that we played on each other, which were positive. Those are the memories that you're going to be left with, okay? Number three, most important, I try to teach my son and daughters this. The relationships you build and the way you treat people are more important than any trophies or awards that you'll ever see, period. The connections you make are lasting memories, and they're the most precious things that you can take with you. And no one can take this away. So I want to thank all of you all for this great honor. May God bless you all.
Wow, I tell you what, you get home there good, man. I tell you. Thank you, brother. Well, next comes Greg Burrow. Oh, there you go. Thank you. To introduce this racing family, and Rob Andrews said the key on there, folks, family. That's what we all are, whether we love it or not. And we're going to talk about two great ones here. Take it away, Mr. Greg Burrow.
Thanks, Mark. I started this journey 44 years ago, and one of the teams that I always noticed was at the front, football or whatever, was the Weiss brothers. And I had never met them until yesterday. And what a great honor. I started out doing IHRA points races in the late 1970s. A little recap on what these two gentlemen have done, Gary and Brother Charlie. Gary won Darlington national event, several points races, NHRA and races in Superstock Comp. He won a race which is not really big on our radar down here, but up north it is, won the Dutch Classic. Everybody wanted that in their resume. And 2 NHRA points races. Nowadays, Gary works at home and he's building cars and redoing cars, and he's about to quit racing totally. But Charlie just finished on top of the points in the Classic Gear Juniors in 2023. He won track championships in 75, 76, 77, IHRA points race, first time in hot rod in 1983, and won IHRA World Championship in hot rod. And get this, with a stick shift. The only person to ever do that and earn more points than anybody in the sportsman ranks, and won the Gene White Award. Won 2-time SCRA, 3-time Gear Jammer points races, countless bracket races, back to IHRA 2017, set a record. These two fellows, as if they have any time, they raise beef and they're in the logging business. They got a next generation coming along, Chad, he's running Classic Gear Jammers. But here's something I noticed when Bubba was posting stuff. He put on there top money winners at Piedmont in 1984. Man, top of the list, Mr. Charlie Weisgarden, way back then. And I think it was a whopping $2,400. So, he's paid his dues. Gentlemen, come on up.
Greg.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for this honor, for Charlie and myself. Actually, when Greg called Charlie back last fall, I thought he was pulling my leg. I just kind of, he clearly got his phone out and I got to listen to the message, so found out it was real. But it is a tremendous honor to be here, and we just, and you'll notice and probably get this pretty quickly that I'm not a very good public speaker. I did want to thank everyone here from the Flying Graduation Hall of Fame. It's just an unreal experience. We thank you. I just remember you pull out on the starting line and there's people down the stands as far as you can see, and you don't bother you a bit. Don't think a thing about it, but standing up here in front of y'all folks is a whole different it's just a very flattering to be here. I would like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for making all this available for everyone here. It's just, he makes everything possible. I'd like to thank the family and the members of Jim and Dora Turner. I'm sure there may be, but I don't know of anyone that has done as much for drag racing in this area and probably anywhere as that family has. And we just, even though raced with Jim at a lot of his tracks many times, and the thing about Jim, he was firm, the best friend you'd ever have. But I remember sliding through the finish line a time or two and getting kicked out. But that's what made Jim what he was. He was just phenomenal man, and Dawn is just wonderful. I would like to thank my wife Joanne, brother Charlie, Shannon, the whole family. It's just almost overwhelming to just be up here in front of y'all. There's some guys that I'd like to thank also. A friend of mine, Johnny Fogle, we built him a car years ago, and he and Dan Fletcher had somewhat of a rivalry going in HR Matic, and Johnny kept outrunning him, and that's how I got to meet Dan Fletcher. So just got us more or less to building the super stock cars and then HRA. Butch Williams, the late Butch Williams, was another guy that was just a tremendously good person, good racer. Some guys that are here, Brad Smith, wonderful young man. We've actually raced his car some, and Ronnie Height, Wayne Height, Jamie Campbell. I was going to get J.C. Childers to actually introduce Charlie and myself, but I think they said this is over at 5, so we didn't. Anyway, we started racing. I feel like that the people that we met and were around us, actually, they really deserve the credit for everything we've done, because it was out to Herb McAllister. Herb, I'm gonna tell this real quick, I know time is essence, but we didn't have a really good night at Roxborough. Charlie broke a transmission, I broke a rear end. Herbie was a little young fellow and called his dad. We thought we were gonna go by the shop and pick up the parts. Well, when we got there, Herb had all the doors in the shop open. Said, boys, let's go to work. This is at 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, the only thing that we finally talked Herb into letting us get a motel room where there wasn't none. So Herb ended up taking us home at 1 o'clock in the morning. A guy, we don't know who they were, they come in really close behind us, and we were driving Herb's car, we were following Herb, and he had a truck, a little pickup truck. And they were swerving back and forth, and right up on the rear end of the vehicle, and Herb turned into the driveway of his home, and we followed him, and these people, they turned and went across this little bank, and they got kind of stuck. Well, as they were rocking back and forth, Herb went over, and every time they would go to back up, he would cram the door. He had opened up the driver door. He pushed the door into the ground, and it would somewhat stop the car. Well, when they did finally leave, the door was basically all the way around the front. And but you know, all that really didn't frighten me. I was kind of looking at to see if there was a gun in the car or anything. But what I was really concerned about was 3 adults and 2 kids facing Marie when we went in the door there. But she didn't shoot her. She fed us and took give us a place to stay, and got up the next morning early, and Herb said, "Come on, boys, we got to go to work." And went to the shop and fixed the car, both cars. And that's the type of people that I feel like is why we were fortunate enough to do what we did. There's Glenn Young out in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He was the same type of guy. He did us anything and everything we needed, and just an honor to have the people around us. And I still feel like that for myself, that was. They actually should be receiving all this, and I should be witnessing it. But I do think that North Carolina Drag Racing Hall of Fame just very much for this honor, and I thank y'all.
Well, I'm even a worse speaker than Gary. I'm not gonna keep you here long, but basically, we raced together all these years, and pretty much the same story he tells is the same ones I can tell, but I certainly would like to to, thank everybody in the North Carolina Drag Racing Hall of Fame. It was a real honor. I really didn't expect it. It was a shock really to me. And I would like to give condolences to the Turner family. They've done a lot for drag racing, always been helpful, never had any problems, and, you know, just the greatest people in the world. And helped get it and got all this started. We wouldn't be here without him, so really want to thank him. The only other I want to add, of course, I want to thank, I got 4 boys, Shannon, Kevin, Chad, Blake, and we're a real family-oriented racing group, and they helped me a bunch. But 2 of them are racing now. All of them have raced some at one point, and we really enjoy racing together. Other than that, I do want to mention my 4 grandchildren. I don't want to leave them right. The one is getting ready to start in junior drag for this year, so that's going to be a different adventure altogether. But other than that, Gary mentioned all our friends. We all hang around the same bunch of people, so no need going over them again. But I just can't express how much of an honor this is. Just, you can't put in words what it means to me. It's a real highlight in our career. Thank
you. All right, now we move on to the Jeff Bird Award. And to present this to a legend in the sport of drag racing here in North Carolina, Mr. Steve Earwood, need Shirley Allen to come up and say some good words about Steve.
It's a top heel drag system. How you doing?
Doing great.
Okay, with how much trouble do you want to get in? I think we'll stay away from the 5-minute bit. Well, I've known Steve Earwood for more than 50 years. That's 50. Back when he was the National Media Relations Director for the NHRA, and I was trying to make a name for myself in Top Fuel. Earwood was based out of California back then, and I was racing out of Michigan. But somehow we both ended up living in the great state of North Carolina. The Jeff Bird Lifetime Achievement Award recognizes those who have made significant contributions to the state's rich drag racing history, and it sure is, more so than the Motor City, Michigan. Get to talk about that someday, I hope. And the history, and that's certainly something that my great friend Steve Earwood has accomplished. More than 30 years ago, he fulfilled a lifetime dream of track ownership, which brought in Rockingham Dragway. And when he bought the Rockingham Dragway and turned a rundown and seldom used track into an energetic and busy racing facility that hosted events on all but a half-dozen weekends each racing year until the early 2000s. He also hosted NASCAR racing on its oval. Earwood was a founding member of the North Carolina Motorsports Association and a member of the Governor's Advisory Council. That's why we're all here today. Before he bought the Rock, he had served as marketing and PR director at the Texas Motorplex, upon its opening in 1986, and also co-owned Atlanta Dragway during its multi-million-dollar rehab makeover, and that was in 1990. When Earwood bought the Rockingham track in February of '92 with a party of investors, I didn't know that, the track was in bad shape, almost as bad as Earwood's bank balance. But there's a funny story about that, and I'll share it with you. He bought the domain, therock.com, from a jeweler in San Francisco for $400. And later, he sold it to the WWF for $250,000. So that it could become the website for the wrestler, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Do you love that one? Earwood, that negotiator, he's really something. That helped keep the track almost afloat for many, many years. As he was in the 1970s for NHRA, and as it was until he sold the track in late 2022, Steve Earwood was one of the rocks of the foundation that made North Carolina auto racing and a special community that it is. Did I get through that all right, Steve? Did I tell any lies? Okay, now I'm looking on. Again, Steve, I'd love to present you with an award that you so richly deserve. Step right up here.
Turner won down a 3-time NHRA Top 2 award. A dear friend for a number of years, and she's helped my career immensely. You really have no idea. It's great to get acknowledged in these rewards, and sure he's been in a few Hall of Fames I've been inducted in, the International Dragons Hall of Fame, and NHRA Southeastern Dragons Hall of Fame, East Coast Hall of Fame. But this Hall of Fame means more to me to be recognized by my peers here in North Carolina. When I bought the track in '92, as Shirley mentioned, I promoted over 100 national events for Wally Parks and NHRA. I opened the Texas Motorplex, and when I came to North Carolina, I thought I knew everything. Well, I did know everything about national events and dealing with professional racers. Shirley Wildowney's, Don Perdone's, Don Garnett's, Don Force, even Ricky Smith's of the world. But Jim Turner probably helped me more than anybody on how to deal with the North Carolina bracket racers. Of course, we had some very successful bracket racers over the years, and we did quite well. I don't deserve any of this, quite frankly. Any spectator who ever bought a ticket for Rockingham Dragway, any racer who ever bought a tech card, every sponsor who ever spent $1 with me, every sports writer who ever wrote a word about Rockingham or about NHRA drag racing back when I rode the national events, any sportscaster. That's who deserves any recognition and honor that I may have been fortunate enough to receive. And I'm sincerely indebted to all those folks, every employee I ever had, every lawyer who represented me in every lawsuit I ever had. Thanks a lot. But it's been a great industry, and it's the one thing that I've always loved about drag racing is the work ethic. We all live by that Protestant work ethic. And as Brian mentioned earlier, and the brothers mentioned about how total dedication it takes from every aspect to be successful in this industry, whether it be a track owner, crew chief, racer, or whatnot. It takes an awful lot of effort. And I don't wear my religion on my sleeves, but quite frankly, folks, I learned some years ago that if you put God first, if you live by His principles, it's just amazing how successful you'll be in life, not only financially and in business, but with just getting along with each other. So I recommend you read that rule book, the Holy Bible. It's you got it pretty well covered. Roy Hill was going to be here today, and actually I owe Roy more than any other individual for my success at Rockingham because of his resilience, if you will. He was a turner we would buy that track in '92, and there's some other creative financing that sure he touched on. We were able to purchase the track in '92, and if it wasn't for Roy, my ex-wife will not be the wealthy woman she is today. But I think Roy came here, he wanted to make sure everybody knew he is not under witness protection program. He's racing an event down in Orlando, Florida. And he was going to do some closing remarks, but he can't do that. But someone is going to stand in for him. Some years ago, this fellow came in office, and he said he's going to have the biggest pro-mide race ever at Rockingham Dragway. Now, I heard it all, like I say. But when I moved here in 92, I didn't know it all. I thought I did anyway. So this guy blows and goes, and he's going to give away free tickets, have the biggest crowd ever. Well, I prepped up for like 2,700 people. At 27,000, we had to close the gates. Just we were overrun. That was the first ADRL race in Rockingham. I think some of you folks were there. And I want to thank Mr. Kenny Nowling for that. Champagne Kenny, as I called him, because Kenny came up with this bizarre idea of a free ticket giveaway, and that really ran its course and was quite successful. So Kenny wanted to say something on behalf of Roy, so Champagne Kenny.
If you had ever told this kid at 4 years old that he'd be standing up here in front of so many legends and following remarks from Shirley Muldowney and Steve Earwood, Robbie Vandergrift, the Weiscarver brothers, my hero, Larry McBride, Wally Stroop, it's just overwhelming. And then you look out and you see guys like Ricky Smith and Charles Carpenter. And when you look on the back of that pamphlet, if you just read, you can't read 3 or 4 names without coming across someone that has such an indelible and life-lasting impact on the sport of drag racing. If you take every other drag racing Hall of Fame, and I can say this now because as of January the 1st, we actually live in Pinehurst, North Carolina, so I'm implanted. After all these years, we had so much success at Rockingham, as Steve said, and my beautiful wife Jessica couldn't be here today, but we wanted to move to North Carolina way back then, and I figured we could just put on events at Steve's track. I'd never have to leave the house, and we'd all do great. So humbly, we were able to do it for a lot of years around the country and meet a lot of great people. One of those people that I was able to meet was the aforementioned Roy Hill back in 2001 when I was still overseeing the NHRA MS Pro Mod Challenge. Roy came to me and he said, I understand that you have a weight break for anything pre-1972. Well, he had just taken delivery of a early 2000s model Jerry Haas Mustang built in Benton, Missouri, my home state. And about a week later, he sends myself a picture, and he wanted me to share with my 2 partners at the time, Dave Wood and Tommy Leeper, of his new 66 Ford Mustang, which was essentially a front end that him and Mr. Haas got together and got very creative with. And to this day, although we broke bread together many, many times, he helped raise my amazing sons, KJ and Joey. Took KJ from a junior dragster kid at Rockingham one Sunday morning after that event in 2006 that Steve spoke of, and it turned him into not only a champion and an eventual drag stock winner, but also he runnered up at the U.S. Nationals in class his first year when he was 19. Roy Hill has 2, as I always say to him, he has 2 personalities. He's Roy Hill, and then he's America's uncle. And Uncle Roy, we all know, loves to cut up, and he loves to carry on. But if you've ever had time, and I had one of the most rewarding experiences of my entire career was sitting with Mr. Steve Earwood not too long ago at Roy's shop as Steve's doing a biography and listening to those 2 tell stories. And when it got to the part about family, Roy couldn't keep it together. He asked Steve if we could just take a minute. He couldn't keep it together talking about his mom and the people that influenced him. The late night conversations that I've been able to have with Uncle Roy over the years have meant so much to me. When you're able to, again, grow up admiring the people, the Ricky Smiths and the Charles Carpenters and the Robbie Vandergrifts, the Bill Coolmans, the Blake Wilders, the Steve Vick, there's so many heroes, Wally Stroop. When you're able to do that and then you're able to spend time with them, you get to know the real person. And all too often, as it was mentioned earlier by Bobby, Bennett, who, congratulations, by the way, he said the same thing I did. We didn't know if it'd make it 25 minutes with the ADRL. Well, he's 25 years now with Competition Plus, so congratulations for him and all the great things he's done for our sport. But Roy mentioned so many people that had an influence in his life. And there wasn't 2 or 3 conversations that would ever go by where he didn't mention Jim Turner's name. And being an aspiring promoter, after I learned, as Alan Reinhart put it so prophetically, when KJ won his first NHRA round, the driving gene skipped a generation in the Nowling family. My daddy was a heck of a super stock driver. KJ ended up doing very well. Me, not so much. So I took that promoting ability and I cultivated it, and it was guys like Jim Turner and Steve Earwood, Bob Harris. They're all legends, and I thought, what is with the state of North Carolina? What is in the water down there? And then when you start again, when you read the back of the brochure for the Hall of Fame induction today, I can tell you that it is a virtual who's who. And if you took every other Hall of Fame in the United States that involved motorsports or drag racing, I'd take this team and this group of people, and we'd go out and we'd kick their ass, I promise you. I promise you. So, having the ability to know Mr. Jim Turner's beautiful wife, Dora, and getting to know his sons, Jay and Bubba, and what Jay's done, I can just tell you, there's no one, and Roy wanted me to come up here and convey just one thing crystal clearly. Of all the people that have influenced his life, there's 2 people that have stood out heads and tails above everyone else. The late T. Wayne Robertson, who did so much for the sport of drag racing, right here from the great state of North Carolina, that I mentioned I'm a resident now, so thrilled about that, I can't tell you. And then Jim Turner. Roy would have conversations with Jim all the way up until the week prior to his passing and going home to the kingdom of heaven. And every time I saw that man get off the phone with Jim Turner, he had a little bit of a tear in his eye. And he said, "You'll never meet a finer man." I was able to have the pleasure of meeting Jim. There are no one, as you said earlier about the song, those are shoes that can't be filled. They just simply can't be filled. I know how proud he was of Jay and Bubba, and I know how proud he is looking down today at what Bubba's done and taking this thing over, especially under the pressure of having just lost your father, who is truly a legend and someone that will never, ever be replicated. Jim Turner didn't know a stranger, and I can promise you, if there's a Mount Rushmore of drag racing promoters and drag racing people, not to mention the fact, I don't know if you know this, I know Greg does, Jim Turner was one hell of a baseball player. If you go back and you study Jim Turner, he was the captain of the baseball team at Campbell University, and he loved to talk baseball. So, Bubba, I know how proud he is to you. Steve's giving me to wrap it up because he knows Kenny Nowling has never spoke less than 3 minutes in his entire life. So that's why I saved it for the end. But Jim Turner, Dora Turner, Bubba, your family, wow. Jane, everybody. You cannot, Jay, turn the crazy guys that strap themselves on those motorcycles. But before I let you go, I will say this. Steve Earwood getting the Jeff Bird Award right before I'm able to come up and speak about someone the caliber of Jim Turner on behalf of Roy Hill is absolutely the highlight of my career. So this tops it all. You guys, thank you so much for everything that you've done in the sport of drag racing. The state of North Carolina is the motorsports capital of the world. It's absolutely the drag racing capital of the world. So thank you.
And that's why I call him Champagne Kitty. I did not, you know, the older you get, you know, I've been doing this since the 1850s. And so the memories aren't what it used to be. I'd like to introduce our board of directors for North Carolina Racing Hall of Fame. Would you folks please stand or wave to the members of the board that are here today? Thank you so much for all you do. If you have any suggestions for candidates to be in our Hall of Fame, those are the folks to see. And I am one of them also, and I'll accept cash. We'll make up a resume if need be. And I saw Don Miller earlier. Don, are you still here? Don, thank you so much for being here. Proprietor of North Carolina Motorsports Museum. Don was Roger Piskey's right-hand man for a number of years, and thank you so much for taking time out. Pretty big weekend in your world. I appreciate you being here with us, living down in the home. Folks, I just leave you with this one thing here. Old drag racing promoters never die. They just burn out. And that, our Joyce.
Thank you, Steve. I tell you, these two right here, I'm gonna be like Bob Harris, I'll get a little emotional. Because when you know somebody, as long as everybody in this room, I hope you know Jim Turner Door, as it gets to your heart. But you know what? I'm gonna tell you one thing in a strong way. That man put a lot of great things in my mind. He read a lot of memories, and you just keep going. So, but the quick story. I first met Jim Turner in the back of a pickup truck, Chevrolet pickup truck. Now you say that's crazy. We're coming from Rockingham Dragway, and then the U.S. Nationals or Pro-Ams, whatever it was, because we've been running his brother Fred's Pro Stock car. Well, there wasn't nowhere to ride in the front. But I think Clyde or might have been driving or whatever. My dad's up there. Well, we're in the back, and I think Dora's brother is back there with us, and there's Jim. And so I'm just a young man, and you're just listening to what's going on. And I knew right then, this man here is going to make a mark. Well, a few years later, he calls my dad, Jerry, farming dragways for rent. Okay, I said, okay. He wasn't really too enthused. But at that time, Jim Turner had a purpose and an idea. And what I'm getting to, folks, if you go to the dictionary and you say pioneer, what is the definition of a pioneer? It's someone who sees potential, an innovator, who's willing to try new things, a pioneer that pushes boundaries to advance a cause or an idea. And folks, I want to, at this time, not only not recognize Jim, but Dora and what she's done. And she made a great mark on my life, too. I'll share a quick story here. Down there at Piedmont, helped them a little bit, do a little announcing. And she's come up this way to keep up with drivers. Now, leave at the door. This woman's smart. She kept the glue together, too, on this family between Jay and Bub and Jim. Oh, you can see some, yeah, it can go on. But anyway, but Dora, she was the backbone. But she came up with this novel way to keep up with the races. She had tech cards for the whole year in her name. You didn't have to fill them out every week. I said, dang. So guess what? Next week at Farming Your Dragway, thank you, Dora Turner. So there we go. But I want to give her credit, too, because, like I say, for every good man, there's a good woman, and there sure the heck was there. So, but I got a little something here if I done lost it. It's been that way today. Let's see here.
Right here. That's right here on the very end. A T-shirt. Are you kidding?
Yes, a t-shirt. But I always believe, you photographer people, Greg Rose, the rest of it, pictures mean 1,000 words or better. And from here on, folks, this Pioneer Award will be for Jim and Dora Turner. Jim and Dora Turner Pioneer Award. And I just want to present this to Bub and Jay, everybody else to see. Come on up, Bob Harris. I ain't left you out. But I know you know Jim just as good as I do. This man right here, he came to the aid when it comes to bracket racing. And I'll tell you what, Jim was unbelievable. Even though we was right down the road from the y'all, was unbelievable. Take it away, Lee.
I told Mark he would have to do Jim because obviously I couldn't. Spent a lot of years. He was a very smart man, very. And like Steve, when I come into 1995, when I bought in with Jim, I thought I knew everything. I didn't know nothing. Jim knew everything, him and Dora. And I knew everything about making bracket racing probably better, but I also knew everything about how to piss them off to the track operators too. So, yeah, I might not clap on that one too. Let me get straightened out here. Norman's a different story. 1985, you know, Gary made me think about it over there a few minutes ago because I used to race with them all the time. Jim had a rule of Piedmont: if you smoke them, you load them. Everybody knows what that is. You go through the fence line, slide the brakes, you're out.
Dennis Swain rule.
The Dennis Swain rule, exactly.
And he's running by bears at farm.
You don't have to bring them all. But anyway, 1985, I was running James Charlton in the finals at Piedmont, and I went down through there, and he wasn't catching me, and I hit the brakes, and I felt the car slide a little bit, and I said, I ain't worried about that. I can handle Jim Turner. So I come back to the pits, and everybody says, hey, you won the race, and here comes the deputy, Zimmerman. He's been there forever. Zimmerman said, Jim will see you in the tower. I knew what that was. I kind of bowed up, and I was 30-some years old, and I said, I'll take care of Jim Turner. I won that race. So I go up the tower, and at that time, it was the old tower on the off the pit side at the time, and the new tower wasn't even built. And you had a little cubby hole door. It's in that picture, okay. So I'm going up the steps, and I done made up my mind, I was going to let Jim Turner know who won that race, and I didn't slide the tires. What does he do? Sends Dora down the steps. And Dora says, now, Bob, you know you did that. And she puts her hands on her side, and I'm thinking, I can't be ugly to her. No matter how mad I am. And I said, okay, Dora, and I walk down just like that. So when I get back over to the pits, my wife and everybody said, what'd you tell him? I said, I let him hold it, buddy, I'll tell you I did. And believe it or not, I finished second that race. But Dora was the glue at Piedmont Dragway. She was probably a very exceptional lady as far as knowing people and knowing her husband, knowing these boys. She knew what it took to keep that racetrack running, how to keep people coming every Saturday night and every Sunday. She was just smart, and she had a great personality. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories, and my 2 minutes is up, because I know Jim was watching, and he hates anything over 2 minutes. Y'all said 3, but it's 2. Everybody knows about the Big Dog, how famous that's been over the last 28 years. Well, me and Jim, we did come up with it in 1996, and we were sitting in the office one day, and Doris sitting in the room beside us, the hall between us, and she printed labels. There was no social media back then. She was working. She was running labels and was trying to outdo Farmington in Morville. That's what we're trying to outdo. She was sending flyers out, and you could hear the machine, and me and Jim were always sitting there and talk about what we're going to do, and, you know. So we started talking about big dogs. We wanted, but it wasn't big dog. We were just talking about having a race with some of our Thursday night people that wanted to run heads up first to the finish line. And Jim was really smart. Jim said, we need a good name, a catchy name. All of a sudden, if you can't run with the big dog, stay on the porch. Dora's screaming from the other room. And that's how the big dog name arrived at Piedmont Dragway. And that's the true story. She knew, Jay knows about it, and so does Bubba. That was Jim and Dora's deal, but Dora was the one that came up with the name Big Dogs. And then we had, I'll tell you one more quick story. We had a 5-day Top Gun Classic bracket race, which I started in 1996, when I went the year after I went in partnership with them. And it was a hard race, because it was like 5 days, and 10,000 win each day, hot, July 4th, terrible to work in. But it was very, very, very good race. Earwood knows that. I mean, Earwood tried to copy it for years and never could do it, but he finally figured it out when he did the B&M series. But about the, I don't know, 3rd or 4th year into it, we was getting kind of burnt out. Dora was getting kind of tired of doing all the work too, and she did all the leg work. And so we knew she was listening one day. She was in there running her little labels and stuff in the room, and Jim said, hey, Bob, what do you think about turning that into a 2-week event? I think that'd be better than 5 days. She come around the corner and said, I think it's time for y'all to go to lunch, is what I think. So that was the end of the 2-week deal. But all sincerely, Dora was a fine person. And obviously, I'm not going to talk about Jim, because everybody knows Jim was a great guy. I got one thing I want to read here, and then I'll end it. Well, I told my wife I should write it down. Coming in, when you come in my front door of my house, we have a plaque on the wall, framed, and here's what it says. Family means giving, sharing, loving, and caring. Family is a permanent bond that becomes longer as you grow older. As we go through life, family is what we can depend on, and what we can lean on, and what we can build on. Family makes life wonderful. Dora Turner, God bless you.
Jim Turner himself, a few weeks ago, came to my shop, planning for this event. You know, in the back of his mind, he knows. But you know what? He knows it's in God's hands. He knows it's in good hands. And folks, if we don't do anything, leave this room right here. You take Jim and Dora's memory with you, come back here next year, we're going to make it even bigger and better. So that's what it's all about. But this time, I want to get Bubba and Jay to come up and say a few words on behalf of their mom and dad. Of course, they know them better than me and Bob would ever know them. But it's just an honor to know these guys because I grew up with them.
Thank you, Mark. Here you go.
I really can't say much more that hadn't been said already today about my parents. They truly were legends in my eyes. This was the last thing they worked on together. Dad, this was his baby. He'd be really happy with the turnout. He'd be really proud of the job that my brother did.
Thanks everybody so much. This has really got a catch in my back. Thanks a lot. God bless.
Well, I got the awards, we'll get pictures. I'm going to do this for pictures one at a time.
Hey, appreciate everybody watching. Very emotional ceremony here.
Okay, 10-4.
I'll be live from the floor later on the NC Pro Motor page. Have a great afternoon.